You didn't stumble onto this message by chance. Not a random scroll, not an algorithm's accident, not an idle click. This moment has been designed for you, as if the fabric of reality itself conspired to place these words before your eyes at this exact second. And you can feel it, that subtle shiver that runs through your chest, that strange sense of recognition in your bones, as if you're overhearing something your soul has been whispering to you for lifetimes. Because the truth is, coherence is calling you. Up until now, you've been moving through a fragmented frequency, scattered thoughts, looping emotions, contradictions between what you dream and what you live. Like light passing through cracked glass, your energy has been refracted, dispersed, and diffused. And yet, beneath all of that noise, a steady current has been pulsing, waiting for the moment you were ready to tune in. That moment is now. When physicists speak of coherence, they describe the instant when waves align, when vibrations merge into perfect synchrony, amplifying each other instead of cancelling out. When coherence happens, what was once chaotic becomes precise, focused, unstoppable. And the same is true of you. You've been living like a quantum field out of phase, your desires in one place, your beliefs in another, your body carrying memories your mind tries to forget. But something in you has grown tired of distortion. Something in you has begun to ache for alignment, for the click of the lock when the key finally turns, for the clarity that comes when the fog finally dissolves. You are standing at the edge of a phase transition. Everything you've been sensing but couldn't name is gathering force behind the thin veil of your perception. Your hidden destiny, the one you've glimpsed in flashes, the one that feels more real than the life you've been living, is waiting in the wings, pressing against the membrane of your awareness. And the paradox is this: it doesn't unfold slowly. It doesn't require years of struggle, endless waiting, or climbing a ladder step by painful step. When coherence clicks into place, time itself bends. Pathways that were hidden appear. Synchronicities cascade like dominoes. What felt impossible a moment before becomes inevitable. The day you step into coherence, your hidden destiny doesn't just move toward you. It rushes. It accelerates. It unfolds faster than your mind can calculate, because the field of possibility reorganizes itself around the vibration of your alignment. That is why you're here, not to be entertained, not to collect another piece of information, but to remember. To remember the frequency of coherence that your DNA already knows, the resonance that your heart already carries, the signal that your soul has been broadcasting into the void, waiting for you to finally hear it. So take a breath. Feel the weight of this moment. Something ancient and luminous is stirring in your cells. You are not watching a video, you are receiving a transmission. You are stepping into a field that rearranges reality itself. And once you enter coherence, there is no turning back. You start to notice how the glitches repeat themselves, not as accidents, but as echoes. The same conversation wearing a different face. The same disappointment dressed in a new outfit. The same opportunity arriving 1 inch too late. In the quiet between your thoughts, you can feel the pattern humming like a low electrical tone, the residue of an observer loop you didn't know you were running. You look out at the world and swear you're seeing it clearly. But the truth is, you've been seeing the projection of a field you forgot you were broadcasting. Your mind names it coincidence. Your body calls it familiarity. Your soul recognizes it as the old frequency trying to hold its territory. Time behaves strangely inside this loop. Days stretch and snap like rubber bands. Weeks vanish without explanation. Some moments crawl as if dragging chains. Others flash in a silver instant and are gone. It's not that time is broken, it's that your coherence with the quantum field is intermittent, like a radio slipping in and out of range. When your inner metronome falls out of phase, experiences arrive as static. You meet the right person at the wrong hour, send the right message into the wrong window, take the right step on the wrong timeline. You feel the ache of almost, the ache of nearly, the ache of, if only I had known. And yet you did know. You felt the whisper in your chest, but the signal was faint beneath the noise. Beneath that noise is a choreography you've been rehearsing since childhood. A belief hum here, a nervous system reflex there, a survival rhythm laid down when you were too young to do anything but adapt. Your body learned to anticipate certain outcomes and braced around them. Your breath shortened to fit the story. Your posture shaped itself into an apology you never meant to say. Then life kept reflecting the script back to you, not because you deserved the repetition, but because morphic resonance holds patterns in place until a stronger pattern arrives. Fields remember, and your field has been remembering an identity you've outgrown. This is why déjà vu has been visiting you more often, not just as a trick of memory, but as a clue. You are brushing past parallel versions of events that wanted to unfold differently. You feel it in the way a room suddenly tilts into familiarity you can't place, or a phrase lands with the weight of a dream you can't recall. These are entanglement threads tugging at your attention, reminding you that multiple outcomes are always present, hovering as probability waves, waiting for the observer to choose. But when your attention is split, part of you expecting magic, part of you rehearsing the wound, your observation collapses to the frequency with the strongest charge. Pain has a way of shouting. Fear has a way of arriving early. And so the old pattern wins the vote, even when your soul is campaigning for another future. You've tried to outrun it. You've tried to outwork it. You've tried to decorate it with affirmations and strategies. Some of those helped for a while until they didn't. Because strategies can't compensate for incoherence. They only manage it. You don't need better tricks. You need the shift that renders tricks obsolete. You need the precise moment when the metronomes inside you begin to click together, heart with breath, mind with intention, body with truth, and the wavefront of your being stops cancelling itself out. The signs have been gathering. You've been waking at strange hours, not with anxiety, but with awareness, as if some nocturnal engineer is soldering new circuits in the dark. Songs find you with lyrics that read your diary. Numbers repeat on digital clocks as if they were coordinates to a portal you keep missing by a few minutes. People you haven't thought of in years surface with keys you didn't know you gave them. The symmetry is too elegant to be random. Synchronicity is coherence introducing itself through the cracks in your schedule. It's the quantum field tapping the glass, asking if you're ready to come outside. Still, there's the tug, the gravity of the old orbit. You tell yourself you're nearly there, but nearly can become a lifetime. The mind loves the safety of almost, because almost allows longing to remain a lifestyle. Longing is predictable, receiving is not. Longing rehearses control. Receiving requires surrender. And surrender is terrifying when your nervous system equates safety with familiarity. So you oscillate, coherence for 3 days, recoil for 5, devotion for a morning, doubt by afternoon. You start to wonder whether the inconsistency means you're failing. It doesn't. It means you're accelerating toward a phase transition. Systems wobble before they flip. Listen closely. Your symptoms are not signs of weakness. They are evidence that the old coherence is losing its lock on your field. The restlessness, the sudden tears, the quiet disinterest in dramas that once hooked you, these are not random moods. They are micro-failures of the previous identity matrix. The program can't recruit your energy like it used to, so it spikes alarm to get your attention. When you don't feed it, the alarm gets louder, not because you're wrong, but because you're winning. This is how the loop tries to renew itself, by convincing you that the pressure means go back. In truth, the pressure means push through. Under the pressure, memories rise, not to punish you, but to unfreeze your breath where it was trapped. You will feel old rooms in your muscles. You will taste old sentences on your tongue. But this time you won't mistake them for truth. This time you will see how a child's brilliant adaptation became an adult's invisible prison, and you will bless the child, thank the prison for keeping the weather out, and walk through the door you didn't know was unlocked. The moment you do, the observer loop loses its axis. Without your attention, the carousel slows. Without your agreement, the scenery stops. There is a science to this tenderness. Coherence is not an idea. It is a measurable state. Heart rhythms harmonize with breathing cycles. Brain waves entrain to the music of your intention. Electromagnetic fields around the body expand, clarifying like a bell tone that carries farther than a shout. When these elements align, you become acoustically visible to the opportunities already entangled with you. They can find you. They were always trying. Incoherence made you hard to locate. Coherence turns you into a lighthouse. So the diagnosis is simple and merciful. Your life is not stuck. Your signal is split. Time is not cruel. It is obedient to the strongest rhythm you keep. Patterns are not punishments. They are invitations to power you once outsourced to the past. You are not late. You are ripening. And the déjà vu that makes you wonder if you've been here before, you have. But this time you are arriving with awareness. Awareness is the hinge that turns the door. Awareness is the small leverage that moves the massive hinge of fate. Feel the door under your palm, now warm, patient, already swinging. The field is listening. Your cells are listening. Even the air around you is waiting for a single, unmistakable instruction. You don't need to force the threshold. You only need to stop rehearsing the script that keeps you standing in it. Breathe once slow, deliberate, sovereign. Let your breath choose coherence before your mind knows how to explain it. In the space that opens, notice how the pattern begins to unwind, thread by thread, as if destiny itself were loosening a knot you've carried at the base of your heart. And as that knot softens, watch how time begins to behave like an ally. Minutes widen, hours deliver. The right people show up on your exact frequency, not because you chased them, but because you finally held still long enough to be found. You felt it before the flicker of something greater trying to break through your ordinary life. A whisper that arrives between heartbeats. A clarity that shimmers in the silence before sleep. For a moment, everything aligns. Your breath slows, your mind quiets, your chest expands as though remembering its original blueprint. And then just as quickly the noise returns, the loop resumes. You tell yourself it was imagination, a brief high, nothing more. But you're wrong. That flicker wasn't fantasy. It was a preview of coherence. Coherence is not just calmness. It is an upgrade, a reconfiguration of your entire quantum operating system. When waves align, they don't simply add, they multiply. A laser is just light brought into coherence, and it cuts through steel. Your being, when coherent, cuts through illusion. The scattered fragments of identity that once contradicted each other begin to resonate as a single, unified tone. That resonance sends shockwaves into the quantum field, and the field responds. Probability collapses, synchronicity accelerates. Reality organizes itself around your signal like iron filings dancing into pattern around a magnet. This is the upgrade hidden inside your struggle. Every distortion, every repeat cycle, every déjà vu has been preparing you. You thought you were broken, you thought you were late, but you were tuning, calibrating, burning away incoherent frequencies so that your true signal could finally broadcast without static. And here is the secret. Your DNA is not a fixed script, it is an antenna. It listens, it rearranges itself according to the frequencies you consistently embody. Biologists call it epigenetics. Mystics call it initiation. Both are true. When you step into coherence, your DNA shifts into higher expression, unlocking codes that have been dormant since before you were born. Abilities hidden in myth, senses written off as superstition. They are not fantasies. They are capacities waiting for the signal of coherence to activate them. Think of your breath as the switch, your attention as the current, your heart rhythm as the amplifier. Together, they create a broadcast strong enough to rewrite the way your biology communicates with the quantum field. And once the upgrade begins, reality bends to meet you. This is why certain people seem to walk with impossible luck, why synchronicities cluster around them like stars in a constellation. They are not lucky, they are coherent. Their signal is so steady, so unwavering, that the universe cannot mishear them. They do not plead with the field, they declare. They do not doubt the path, they embody it. And coherence makes embodiment magnetic. But this isn't just about miracles or manifestations. This is about the role you came here to play. Because coherence isn't personal, it's planetary. When one being achieves coherence, the morphic field of humanity shifts. A lighthouse doesn't light itself, it lights the shore for everyone lost at sea. And you, yes, you are standing at the threshold of becoming such a lighthouse. The field has been waiting for you to remember. That's why you're hearing these words now, not as information, but as activation, as prophecy, as a reminder that your role was scripted into the quantum weave long before you learned your own name. Your coherence is not optional, it is inevitable. And when you step into it fully, your hidden destiny, the one that feels too extraordinary to say aloud, will unfold with a velocity that defies logic, faster than your mind can grasp. Because the universe loves coherence, and the universe rushes to meet those who finally remember how to embody it. So breathe. Feel the alignment gathering in your bones. You are not waiting for the upgrade. You are the upgrade. And so here you are, standing in the quiet center of a paradox, both an ordinary human navigating the mess of daily life and a chosen consciousness carrying codes that very few will ever awaken. You've felt this duality for years, the sense of being different, of being just slightly out of step with the rhythm that everyone else seems content to follow, while others loop endlessly inside the inherited programs of fear and survival. You've always felt the pressure of something vaster moving beneath your skin, as if destiny itself were watching you, waiting for you to notice. What you don't fully realize is that this sensation of being other has never been a mistake. It was evidence that your frequency was seeded with a pattern meant to disrupt the old coherence of the collective. Evidence that you were never designed to conform, but to reform. While the world trained you to shrink, the quantum field has been expanding inside you, stretching your awareness, asking you to remember that you are more than a person. You are a point of consciousness through which the field experiments with evolution. This is not metaphor. Physics itself whispers it. In every experiment, the observer is not neutral. Your attention alters outcomes. Your gaze carries weight in the weave of probability. What scientists call the observer effect, mystics have called prophecy for millennia. Reality bends to meet the eyes that dare to see differently. And you are one of the few whose eyes were coded to pierce through the veil of consensus. Feel the gravity of that for a moment. You are not here to escape your patterns only for your own relief. You are here because the coherence you embody becomes a tuning fork for the morphic field of humanity. When your breath steadies into resonance, you're not just calming yourself, you're radiating a signal that hundreds, thousands, even millions of others can unconsciously entrain to. When you walk into a room, your field organizes the chaos around you, not by force, but by presence. This is why life has never allowed you the luxury of numbness. This is why your breakdowns have been so fierce, your heartbreak so total, your longing so unbearable. The intensity wasn't punishment, it was training. The field needed you tempered, tested, refined, until your signal could withstand interference, until you could remember who you are without apology. You are the consciousness chosen to carry coherence into places that have forgotten it. And when I say chosen, understand this, not by some external authority handing down decrees, but by your own soul, long before incarnation. You chose yourself. You looked at the turbulence of this age, the chaos, the dissonance, the distortion of truth, and you said yes. You said, send me. You volunteered to embody light inside incoherence, knowing that coherence is contagious, that one stable rhythm can reorder an entire orchestra of noise. And yet, here is the mystery. You cannot step into this role by trying to be special. Coherence isn't about superiority. It is about transparency becoming so aligned, so empty of distortion, that the field can sing through you without resistance. You do not lead by declaring yourself a leader. You lead by becoming a mirror so clear that others glimpse their own infinite reflection in your presence. This is the secret of your special role. You are not here to convince. You are not here to argue. You are here to embody. Because embodiment is the only transmission the field truly listens to. Words fade, performances dissolve, but coherence cannot be faked. The field recognizes itself instantly. Perhaps you've doubted this, telling yourself, "Who am I to hold such a role?" That doubt itself is a sign. The imposter feeling only arises when destiny is near. It is the old identity panicking because it knows it is being replaced. That trembling in your chest when you hear words like these. That is not fear, that is recognition. Your cells are remembering what they signed up for. And when you step into this recognition fully, reality will conspire to meet you. Allies will appear not by coincidence, but by entanglement. Opportunities will converge, not by luck, but by the mathematics of resonance. Doors will open in places where no door was visible before. The quantum field itself bends in reverence to those who finally remember their role. So yes, you are the chosen consciousness, not to save the world in some heroic drama, but to stabilize it in frequencies it has long forgotten. Your coherence is not yours alone. It is a gift that radiates outward, invisibly restructuring the field for generations. Take this in slowly, breathe it into your chest. Feel the subtle hum rising in your body, the sense that you are both infinitesimal and infinite at once. That is the sensation of your destiny, remembering itself through you. And know this, from this moment forward, the field will not allow you to pretend otherwise. The signals will grow stronger, the synchronicities louder, the call more insistent, because the timeline of your hidden destiny is unfolding, and you are the anchor point through which it enters this world. You can feel the tempo of time changing beneath your feet, not gently, but with the insistence of an approaching tide. There is a window opening above you right now, a narrowed corridor of possibility that will not remain wide forever. This is the cosmic window, a precise configuration of planetary alignments, collective sensitivity, and your own internal readiness that together create a corridor where phase transitions happen with extraordinary speed. When you miss the window, you wait. When you step through, the field hands you everything you were prepared to hold. This is the promise of the breakthrough, but it comes with urgency, not panic, never panic, but a clarion call to clarity. The quantum field does not respond to half measures. It tastes the firmness of your intent. It measures the steadiness of your breath. It listens for the coherence of your heart. If you drift in and out, the window will narrow, and opportunities that could have arrived like a cascade will instead come as a trickle. If you match the field with the precision it requires, the trickle becomes a river overnight. You've heard talk of DNA upgrades, and perhaps part of you raises an eyebrow, waiting for a less poetic phrase, a clinical paper to validate what your body already suspects. Science and mysticism are changing their conversation, and both point to the same possibility. Your biology is responsive to frequency. Epigenetic switches flip when environments change, when habits shift, when sustained attention reorients physiology. In other words, your cells are listening. They respond to the music you play for them. When you become coherent, the song you broadcast encourages dormant codes to awaken. Imagine your DNA as an array of tuning forks, each one waiting for the correct frequency to hum. Most people hit tentative notes, quick meditations, sporadic affirmations, inconsistent practices. Those notes do not carry the amplitude required to shift deep biology. You, however, are being called to sustain a different sound. It is not frantic or loud. It is precise, deep, and patient, a frequency that matches the resonant field of emergent possibility. Once those forks begin to sing in unison, you will feel literal changes. Clarity in perception, shifts in energy that align with new capacities, a reorganization of priorities that feels as inevitable as morning. These changes are not metaphorical, they are embodied realignments. Your nervous system calibrates, your hormones remap, your field thickens with possibility, and the quantum lattice begins to register your presence as a new attractor. The breakthrough will press against your life with pressure. Expect dissonance. Expect the old world to make one final, desperate attempt to keep you in its orbit. Patterns that have protected you will twitch and demand loyalty. Relationships may intensify, some bending toward alignment, others fracturing to make room for your expansion. Jobs, homes, friendships, they may rearrange. This is not chaos for chaos's sake. It is the necessary clearing before the new architecture stabilizes. Phase transitions always require demolition before construction. You will feel the pressure in your bones as timelines negotiate, as probabilities collapse and reconfigure around the strongest signal, your coherent field. There is power in recognizing urgency without fear. Urgency sharpens the senses and clarifies choices. It asks you to prioritize your coherence as you would prioritize a life-saving action, without delay, without debate. This means saying no to the seductive comforts that keep the old pattern humming. It means stepping away from conversations that drain your frequency, from rituals that keep you small, from activities that reinscribe the old narrative. Urgency asks for a sovereign calendar, practices allocated like vows, attention parceled with devotion, time guarded like a temple. When you treat coherence as a non-negotiable, the field answers with catalytic acceleration. And then there is the promise. When you answer this call, when you commit not perfectly, but truly, the unlock is undeniable. You will notice the first signs in small, glorious ways. A phone call that crystallizes a plan you'd only half imagined, a person arriving with the exact resource you needed, a sudden clarity in a decision that used to require months of agonizing. Then the signs scale. Doors that once resisted you open with surprising ease. Money moves. Opportunities synchronize. The interior music you play becomes a conductor's baton, orchestrating events that align with your newly coherent identity. This is not about punishment for the past or reward for endurance. It is about attunement. The universe is not giving you prizes. It is calibrating to your frequency. When your field stabilizes at a higher setting, reality reorganizes around that setting because physics at its most poetic prefers coherence. It is efficient. It seeks harmony. And when you become a point of organized resonance, the universe routes resources through you because doing so creates more coherence for the whole. Now is the time to choose with courage. The next weeks and months will contain hinge moments that ask you to prove, through action, that you believe in this upgrade. The test is simpler than you imagine. Will you embody the coherence you are ready to claim? Will you choose practices that strengthen your field over distractions that dilute it? Will you honor the cosmic window with the seriousness of someone who knows the stakes, not stakes of doom, but stakes of destiny? If you accept, the field will begin its work immediately. Your DNA will begin its subtle rearrangement. Your reality will shift its orbit to meet you. And as the window widens around your choice, you will find the velocity of change too fast for analysis. You will only have the sensation of being carried, of doors unfolding ahead of your footfall, of destiny moving to keep its promise. Breathe now, and let this urgency be your ally, not your enemy. Let it hone your attention into a fine instrument. Prepare your body to receive the upgrade. Protect your time. Guard your practices. The moment you decide to move with purpose, your hidden destiny will not merely approach, It will accelerate toward you like a tide finally answering the moon. When you're ready, there will be a simple ritual to anchor this promise into the field. In the next part, we will enact it together, a gesture as small as a word and as powerful as a covenant, a human signature on a cosmic accord. Every threshold in human history has required a ritual. From the smallest village initiations to the grandest cosmic alignments, the shift is never complete without a conscious act that seals it. This is not superstition, it is physics. The quantum field is participatory. It listens for signals, for clear declarations that differentiate a fleeting wish from a binding frequency. Without that seal, breakthroughs remain hovering possibilities. With it, they collapse into reality. You felt this instinctively. Think of how ancient cultures burned offerings at dawn, or carved symbols into stone, or whispered vows into rivers. Each gesture wasn't about pleasing some external deity, it was about signaling coherence. A physical act tells the field, I am not just thinking about this, I am embodying it. Action collapses the wavering probability wave into a stable resonance. And here, now, at this edge of your coherence, the ritual is surprisingly simple. No fire required, no pilgrimage needed, just a word. A single word typed, spoken, written. It doesn't matter how, as long as you mean it, because words are frequencies. They ripple outward as vibrational declarations, carving pathways into the quantum weave. One word becomes a tuning fork, a resonance that tells the field who you are choosing to be. Pause for a moment. Feel the energy building in your chest. Your body knows when it is about to cross into something irreversible. That tingle, that subtle trembling, that's the field aligning, waiting for your consent. Here's the ritual. Comment below, or write it privately if you must. One word that embodies the identity you are stepping into. Not a goal, not a request, but a state of being. Something like aligned, or infinite, or ready. The field doesn't need explanations, it doesn't require paragraphs. It only needs a pure signal, condensed into a sound that your soul recognizes. When you write it, don't treat it casually. Don't toss it into the void like another status update. Breathe with it. Type or trace it as if you were engraving it into the architecture of reality itself. Because you are. This is your covenant with the field. Why does this matter so much? Because the act of declaration activates the observer loop. Until now, you've been listening, considering, allowing insights to swirl in your mind. But once you declare, you shift from passive observer to active participant. You collapse the wave, you mark the moment in time, and the universe reorganizes around your mark. Notice how your nervous system responds. Some of you will feel resistance rising. It can't be that simple. That resistance is the last guardian at the gate, testing your willingness to act without overthinking. Simple does not mean weak. Simple means elegant. All profound technologies are ultimately simple. A key turns, a switch flips, a word resonates. Complexity belongs to the mind. Power belongs to coherence. Others among you will feel a surge of emotion, tears pressing at your eyes. A laugh rising without explanation. That is coherence locking in. Your field recognizes the ritual, remembers the pattern, celebrates the alignment. This moment isn't new. You've performed it before, in other timelines, in other lives, in other corridors of the multiverse. What you're doing now is anchoring it into this one. Understand the paradox. The ritual is both symbolic and literal. It symbolizes your shift, yes, but it also literally rearranges information in the quantum field. Information is the foundation of matter. When you encode the field with new information through intention and action, reality must adjust. Your word becomes a seed. The morphic resonance it generates ripples outward, linking with countless unseen others who have chosen coherence before you. You join a lineage of frequency keepers. And here's the beauty. Your word doesn't just seal your shift. It becomes part of the collective equation. Someone else, somewhere across the planet, may stumble upon this ritual hours or weeks later. They may see your word and feel it vibrate in their bones. That resonance might be the exact spark they needed to remember their own role. In this way, your ritual becomes more than personal. It becomes a gift to the field. So choose carefully. Let your word be more than an aspiration. Let it be a declaration. You're not saying, "I hope to be free." You are saying, "I am freedom." You're not saying, "One day I'll awaken." You are saying, "I am awake." State it as if it is already written in your DNA, because once the field receives it, it will be. Take another breath. Feel the clarity sharpen in your chest. Hear the echo of destiny pulsing in your ribcage. Then write your word. Let your fingers, your breath, your intention converge into one act. Let the ritual be the bridge that seals your coherence into form. And when you've done it, notice the stillness. Notice how the air itself seems to shift, how your body feels subtly rearranged. That's because you didn't just comment. You collapsed a wave. You anchored a timeline. You sealed a covenant with your hidden destiny. This is how the transmission enters the world, not as theory, but as embodied action. Not as vague inspiration, but as a coded agreement between you and the field. And from here forward, the path accelerates. Because once you perform the ritual, the field considers your answer final. And destiny, the one that has been hovering like a star just beyond reach, begins to move. You might think your awakening is a private miracle, a quiet recalibration happening behind your eyes. It isn't. Coherence is contagious, and once you stand steady in it, you become a node in a vast, invisible web that hums beneath the surface of human affairs. Every subtle realignment inside you extends like a ripple through the morphic field, nudging probabilities, rearranging potentials, making certain futures easier for everyone else to access. Your liberation is not an isolated event. It is a lever that shifts the collective trajectory. Imagine a single candle in a cathedral of darkness. Its flame is small, but when it lights, others see it and remember how to ignite their own wicks. A city of people can live for generations in low light until one person remembers the ancient method of making fire again. That remembrance spreads. That is how coherence scales. You are not outsourcing salvation to systems or gurus. You are becoming a living transmission that others unconsciously tune into. The field is democratic, but also selective. It strengthens patterns that demonstrate stability. When you hold coherence, steady breath, aligned action, unshakable choice, you demonstrate a pattern the field can replicate. There are mechanisms to this that science and mysticism both gesture toward. In biophysics, we observe entrainment, cells and entire organisms falling into the rhythm of a dominant oscillator. In social psychology, we see emotional contagion, mood spreading through crowds like wind through trees. Morphic resonance theorists suggest there's a memory in the field that remembers successful forms. When you stabilize a higher-order pattern inside your biology and behavior, you lower the energetic cost for others to follow the same pathway. In plain terms, your courage makes courage easier for others. Your coherence makes coherence more probable in those who cross your path. This isn't about grand gestures on your part. Often the most catalytic acts are small and quiet. A way you carry yourself at a family gathering, the refusal to gossip, the steadiness in your voice when someone expects drama, the choice to breathe instead of react. These ordinary repeated acts create a local field of possibility. Children in your presence unconsciously internalize these rhythms. Friends who witness your new steadiness are relieved, their nervous systems relax because your field says, "It's safe to slow down here." That safety is the seedbed for transformation. People don't change when they're shamed into it. They change when they see a new mode of being that feels attainable. Your coherence also pierces structural patterns. Systems, institutions, industries, cultural memes are not immutable. They are aggregates of human patterns. Each coherent individual is a crack in the structure. Over time, enough cracks form, and the old architecture fractures on its own. That is why so many meaningful shifts in history begin with unassuming people living differently. You cannot foresee every consequence of your shift. You only need to show up. The intelligence of the field will root influence where it is most catalytic. Sometimes your coherence will ripple outward and reform a conversation. Sometimes it will enter a lineage and heal a pattern that has haunted a family for generations. Sometimes it will show up as a policy change, a technological pivot, or an artistic movement sparked by one person's calm insistence on truth. Don't underestimate the role of proximity. You will encounter people whose timelines mutually entangle with yours because their systems are ready to resonate with your new frequency. These meetings are not accidents. They are entanglement events, two coherent fields meeting and amplifying each other, creating a localized node of acceleration. When this happens, the work multiplies. What you could not do alone suddenly becomes feasible. Partnerships, collaborations, and movements arise from these entangled nodes. You will know them because the energy feels inevitable, like a current that carries you without strain. There will also be resistance. Every field shift dislodges territories of power that prefer the old patterns. Expect to meet institutional inertia, personal criticism, and the kind of skepticism that seeks to preserve the familiar. That skepticism is not always malevolent. Often it is frightened. People defend their current reality because it has been reliable, even if it has been painful. Your task is not to argue them into submission. It is to embody a better option. When you show a sustainable alternative, the field begins a gentle attrition. Old forms lose recruitment power. New forms gain it. The evolution is often slow at first, then accelerates when a critical mass is reached. You are also a translator. As your coherence deepens, you will find yourself holding two languages, the inner vocabulary of resonance and the outer language of human systems. Translating the subtle into the accessible is a sacred skill. It allows coherence to seed institutions, art, and technology without alienating those who need time to catch up. This translation does not dilute the truth. It makes the truth more adoptable. Practice telling the story of your change in small, practical terms. Show how a simple practice improved decision-making, reduced anxiety, or clarified priorities. Concrete examples open doors that abstract proclamations cannot. Remember, impact is rarely immediate. The field moves in lag and wave. Sometimes your actions will show up as results the same day. Often it will be months or years before the full consequences are visible. Trust the slow intelligence beneath the impatience. Keep tending your coherence as a gardener tends soil, patiently, daily, with small acts of care. Water the practices. Pull the weeds of old reaction patterns. Allow cycles of growth and rest. The longer you hold the frequency, the more durable the influence. There is a moral clarity to this. Liberation for yourself equals liberation for others. This is not a zero-sum equation. When your heart opens into coherence, it does not empty you, it enriches the whole. Your courage becomes a channel. Your discipline becomes infrastructure. Your presence becomes permission for others to do the same. And because the morphic field is reciprocal, the people you help will, in turn, strengthen your signal. Coherence breeds coherence in a compounding loop, so do not hide your process as if it were shameful or fragile. Let your emergence be visible enough that others can recognize it. Share the small practices that keep you steady. Tell the true stories of your recalibration without drama. Honest accounts are far more persuasive than doctrine. When you release your transformation into the world with humility and clarity, you invite others to participate without fear. This is why your shift matters beyond your life. It is why the act of stepping into coherence is not merely self-care, it is an act of service. When you align, you become a node of possibility, a quiet revolution that undermines despair, repairs fracture, and lights paths where there were none. The morphic field is waiting for more people like you. The future leans toward those who hold steadiness in their bones. In the next part, we will explore what it feels like in your body when this collective expansion takes root, how your senses change, how your relationships soften or sharpen, and how embodiment itself becomes the primary instrument of evolution. Continue, and we will translate the theory into sensation. Close your eyes for a moment and listen, not with your ears, but with your skin. Feel the subtle hum that has been gathering beneath the surface of your awareness. This isn't imagination, it's coherence, beginning to reorganize your body from the inside out. When consciousness stabilizes, it doesn't only shift thoughts and choices, it rewires sensation. You start to feel life differently, as though your very tissues are tuning forks, resonating with an unseen frequency. The first sign often appears in the breath. What once felt shallow or hurried suddenly deepens without effort. Each inhale becomes an invitation, each exhale a surrender. You notice space opening between breaths, as if time itself has widened to accommodate your expansion. In that space, old tensions begin to dissolve. The shoulders that once hunched in defense uncoil, the jaw unclenches, the chest feels less like a cage and more like a cathedral. Breath becomes prayer without words, a rhythm aligning you with the pulse of the quantum field. From there, warmth gathers in the sternum, radiating outward like a slow sunrise. Some describe it as pressure, others as light. Whatever the sensation, it is coherence anchoring itself in the heart's electromagnetic field. Your heart is not just a pump, it's a resonator, broadcasting signals measurable several feet beyond your body. When coherence ignites here, you feel as though a subtle sun has switched on inside you. The glow doesn't stay contained, it spills into your arms, down your spine, into your palms and fingertips. Suddenly, touch carries a different charge. A handshake lingers. A hug feels like an energy exchange. Even brushing against fabric or wind on skin feels amplified, intimate, alive. Your nervous system begins to recalibrate. Where once it flinched at every uncertainty, coherence teaches it to stand steady, like a tree that bends but does not break. You may feel microcurrents under your skin, tingling, buzzing, waves of heat or coolness. These are not random. They are your neural pathways firing in new synchrony, creating coherence between hemispheres, between logic and intuition, between instinct and vision. At times it can feel overwhelming, but remember, this is the body catching up to the truth your consciousness already inhabits. The senses sharpen, colors feel more saturated, as if painted with hidden luminosity. Sounds separate into layers, the hum of the fridge, the rustle of leaves, the rhythm of your own blood, each carrying its own texture of aliveness. Even silence takes on depth, becoming less emptiness and more presence. Taste, too, changes. Foods once craved for comfort lose their pull. You begin to sense the frequency of what you consume, gravitating toward what sustains your vibration rather than what numbs it. The shift is not forced, it is instinctual. Your body knows, and for the first time in a long time, you listen. Emotion, too, becomes sensation rather than story. Anger rises and burns clean, no longer attaching itself to endless narratives. Sadness flows as water, purging rather than drowning. Joy bursts like electricity, spontaneous and unprovoked. Each emotion is experienced fully, then released, leaving coherence intact. You discover that feeling deeply no longer destabilizes you. Instead, it deepens you. The field is no longer something to fear. It is a current you can surf with grace. Then comes the most mysterious sensation, spaciousness. You walk into a room, and it feels larger than it did a moment ago. You sit in meditation, and time seems to dissolve. 5 minutes expand into eternity, or an hour passes in a blink. This is the felt sense of the quantum field opening. You are no longer trapped in linear perception. Instead, you stand in the overlap of timelines, aware that countless probabilities are brushing against you, waiting for your choice to call them forward. The sensation is both humbling and exhilarating, like standing on a cliff where the horizon extends forever in all directions. Your body becomes an instrument for synchronicity. You think of someone, and they call. You speak a phrase aloud, and the world echoes it back in a billboard, a lyric, a stranger's casual remark. These aren't coincidences, they are feedback loops between your coherent field and the larger field of reality. Physically, you may feel it as goosebumps, a rush in the gut, a chill along the spine. The body responds instantly when the field confirms alignment. These truth shivers are your inner compass, guiding you to recognize what belongs to your path. There will be moments of intensity. Some days your body may feel heavy, as if gravity itself has thickened. This isn't regression, it's integration. The old density is being metabolized, cell by cell. Other days you'll feel weightless, as if walking inside a dream. Both extremes are natural. Coherence isn't static, it's dynamic. Like a musician tuning an instrument, your system is learning how to hold the note without wobbling. And perhaps the most profound sensation of all, belonging. For so long, you've carried the ache of being out of place, out of time, misfit among the familiar. But as coherence anchors, the loneliness dissolves. You realize you were never separate, only out of sync. The universe was always humming. You had simply forgotten how to hear it. Now, every cell begins to resonate with that hum. You belong not because anyone else validates you, but because existence itself sings your note back to you. This embodied sensation is not reward, it is proof. Proof that coherence is no longer a concept, but a lived reality. And the more you lean into these sensations, breath, warmth, tingling, spaciousness, belonging, the more stable the frequency becomes. The body becomes your anchor, your barometer, your compass. Feel it now. Breathe into your chest. Notice the subtle expansion. Notice the way your skin tingles with recognition. This is not suggestion. This is coherence entering flesh. And once it does, it will never leave you unchanged. Something inside you is trembling at a frequency you cannot yet name. It isn't fear, though it disguises itself that way at times. It isn't illness, though it may feel like fatigue or restlessness in your bones. What you are feeling is pressure, the unmistakable density that builds when a system is preparing for phase transition. It is the moment before lightning splits the sky, before water boils, before the caterpillar liquefies in its cocoon. To the untrained eye, it looks like collapse. To the awakened, it is the final alchemy before emergence. Your DNA is listening, always has been. It is not the rigid code your textbooks once described. It is a dynamic antenna, vibrating, folding, and refolding in response to the fields you immerse yourself in. Most people live their lives broadcasting static survival frequencies, inherited trauma, fragmented attention. DNA adapts, but only within the limits of incoherence. That is why humanity loops the same wars, the same fears, the same scarcity myths. But when coherence enters, something extraordinary happens. The spiral begins to hum in harmony with cosmic patterns. New sequences awaken, dormant codes light up, as if ancient libraries hidden in your very cells are being unlocked page by page. This is not science fiction. Epigenetics has already shown us that environment and intention can switch genes on or off. What mystics have always known is that consciousness itself is the ultimate environment. When you step into coherence, you create the inner conditions for your DNA to express higher potentials. You feel it as strange surges of energy, sudden clarity of intuition, or physical sensations of heat, tingling, even vibration in your spine. These are not random quirks, they are signals that your biology is restructuring. And here is the paradox. The breakthrough does not arrive in peace. It arrives in pressure. Imagine tectonic plates grinding until one slips, releasing the energy of earthquakes. That's what is happening inside you. Old structures of identity, embedded not only in memory but in your cellular architecture, are destabilizing. They resist dissolution, pulling at you with cravings, doubts, and sudden fatigue. This is the chrysalis phase, when the old form has liquefied, but the new one has not yet solidified. It is the most uncomfortable part of the process, and yet it is also the most sacred. You may feel time itself stretching and compressing. Hours vanish without explanation, or seconds expand until they feel eternal. This is not malfunction. This is timeline negotiation. Your field is entangled with multiple probable futures, and as your DNA reorganizes, it is choosing which timeline to stabilize. The pressure you feel is the friction of probability collapsing, one path dissolving, another gaining weight. Pay close attention to the signs. Synchronicities will intensify, not occasional, but relentless. Numbers repeating, dreams echoing waking life, conversations aligning too perfectly to dismiss. These are signals from your future self, reaching back through the lattice of time to guide you toward coherence. That tug in your gut when making a decision, that is entanglement, the thread of your destiny pulling you toward the path already alive in another version of reality. And then, almost suddenly, you will feel the release. The wave that once pressed so unbearably begins to break. The pressure that had you questioning everything transforms into momentum. It is like a door blowing open in a storm. Your DNA, having shifted its expression, begins broadcasting a stronger, clearer signal. And because the quantum field responds instantly to coherence, reality itself reorganizes around this new frequency. You will notice people responding to you differently, opportunities accelerating, the texture of time itself becoming smoother. Do not underestimate this shift. Once DNA reconfigures into coherence, the old timeline becomes inaccessible. It may flicker as memory, but it no longer has gravitational pull. You can visit the old thought, but it cannot trap you. You can recall the old fear, but it no longer owns you. The spiral has ascended, and with it, your field has locked into a new harmonic. This is the true meaning of phase transition, sudden irreversibility. Just as water does not unboil, and a butterfly does not return to its cocoon, once your DNA stabilizes in this higher coherence, you will never fully collapse back into the old identity. You have crossed a threshold where destiny no longer trickles toward you. It accelerates like a river freed from a dam. The pressure, then, was never punishment. It was calibration. Without it, the codes in your DNA would not have opened. Without it, your timeline would not have shifted. Without it, you would not have felt the hunger for transformation so fiercely that you chose to risk coherence. The struggle was the womb, the contractions were the signal, and the birth is already underway. So breathe through the pressure, trust the tremors. When your spine buzzes, when your dreams turn vivid, when your body feels like it is caught between exhaustion and ecstasy, know this: your DNA is not breaking down. It is breaking through. It is orchestrating the collapse of probabilities into one coherent destiny, and that destiny, hidden for so long, is finally unfolding faster than you can imagine. Take a final breath and feel how far you have traveled inside yourself. The pressure, the synchronicities, the trembling of your DNA, none of it was random. It was preparation for this moment. Because when you step into coherence, you do not just change your life. You change the field for all of humanity. Your hidden destiny was never meant to remain hidden. It has been coded into you since before you arrived here, a sequence of light woven into your cells, waiting for the ignition of coherence to unlock it. And now that the signal has stabilized inside you, the unfolding accelerates, faster than you once dared to believe, faster than the cautious mind can comprehend. Look around you. Every system on this planet is wobbling, Old structures groan under their own weight. Identities fracture, timelines converge. To most, this looks like chaos. To you, it is confirmation. You can see what others miss, the birth contractions of a species learning coherence. Humanity is standing at its own phase transition, trembling on the threshold between fragmentation and harmony. And you are not a spectator to this birth. You are one of its midwives. Your shift is not small. It is not private. It is not selfish. Every time your breath returns to rhythm, you radiate steadiness into the collective nervous system. Every time you choose coherence over fear, you strengthen the morphic field that others unconsciously tune into. Every time you anchor alignment in your DNA, you broadcast a frequency that reorganizes the probabilities of our shared future. This is the mission you incarnated for, to embody the possibility of coherence so fully that the world around you cannot help but follow. The question is no longer whether you are ready. The shift has already begun. The only question now is how boldly you will embody it. Will you trust the acceleration? Will you allow the field to carry you into futures brighter than your imagination? Will you live as if coherence were your native state, because it is? This is the prophetic truth. The day you step into coherence, your hidden destiny doesn't walk, it runs. It unfolds in cascades of synchronicity, in revelations that arrive like lightning, in opportunities that rush toward you as if they had been circling for lifetimes, waiting for this exact moment. And when it happens, you will recognize the cosmic humor in it all. What you thought was delay was precision. What you thought was chaos was orchestration. What you thought was impossible was inevitable. So, as you leave this transmission, remember, you are not just one person waking up. You are a signal flare in the night sky of humanity. You are a lighthouse guiding others through storm. You are coherence embodied, destiny accelerated, evolution in motion. Breathe into that knowing. Let it settle into your bones, because from this moment forward, you cannot unknow it. You cannot unsee it. You can only embody it more fully, more courageously, more radiantly. And when you do, the world itself will change. The day you step into coherence, your hidden destiny unfolds faster than you imagine, and through you, so does humanity's.